and to do what I'm going to describe to you guys in a minute to put it to the test. Radar Mechanics 101, they built it for a flat, stationary Earth. There's no doubt about it. And my goal is for some young fighter pilot to listen to what I just said, go out tomorrow and and set the bottom of your L strobe on your altitude, run it out there to 80 miles, and that bottom altitude on your cursor will stay the same out to 80 miles. Whereas it should get bigger, right? Because the Earth is curving away.
That's right.
So at first, that may seem impressive. You have an F-16 pilot saying that by his experience, the Earth doesn't drop away when you fly in a straight line. But if you listen to the whole thing carefully, what he says is this never occurred to him back when he was actually flying his F-16s. This is something he only thought of recently after he became a flat earther conspiracy theorist. Also sounds like he's kind of an all-purpose conspiracy theorist, this guy. And he's saying, well, maybe some current fighter pilot will do this experiment that he never did and never thought to do. But he thinks that the basic claim is if you're flying a jet, straight and level, that therefore the Earth should drop away as it curves underneath you, and that doesn't happen. Therefore, the Earth is flat. Okay. This claim is all over the internet as well, and a lot of experts and pilots have weighed in on it. And the bottom line is that this is just simply not true. None of this is true. So first of all, when a jet or a plane is flying straight and level, they're not traveling in a Euclidean straight line. How does a jet stay level? It does so either on autopilot or by the pilot themselves making adjustments. What the autopilot does is it has an altimeter, how it keeps the altitude above the ground, either above the ground or by air pressure. I think most of them now use air pressure, because then the air pressure altitude won't vary as the ground is varying underneath you. And it just keeps it the same by making constant little adjustments, right, in order to keep trim, keep true, keep quote unquote straight. And therefore, you are flying in a straight line relative to the frame of the surface of the Earth. You are flying around the curvature of the Earth. That's how the autopilot works. And if you're flying manual, you're constantly making little adjustments. You're not locked in a perfectly straight line. You're keeping your plane adjusted, and you're following the curvature of the Earth. It's as simple as that. That's how navigation works. This is every pilot who has addressed this question basically says the same thing. That's the way it works. Also, you have to consider a couple other factors here. That in a globe Earth, a curved Earth, gravity is going to keep you going around the Earth. You would have to actually be accelerating away from the Earth, climbing an altitude in order to maintain that Euclidean straight line. That wouldn't be automatic. Gravity itself is going to tend to keep you flying, around the Earth, right? Because gravity's still there. It's still pulling you towards the center of the Earth. And also the atmosphere is curved around the surface of the Earth as well. And there's a thing of aerodynamics, right? You're not in space. You're flying through the air. You're flying through a curved blanket of air, that's going around the surface of the Earth as well. So you consider all of these factors, flying straight and true means you're following the curvature of the Earth. That's what it means. That's how it works. So this notion that, if you flew straight, you should be pulling away from the Earth, just simply isn't true. Now, if you tried to fly manually so that you weren't making any adjustments for the curvature of the Earth, and the autopilot wasn't making any adjustments, and you were doing your best to travel in a Euclidean straight line, then the surface of the Earth would pull away from you. You would climb in altitude. You would have to be climbing in altitude to maintain an actual straight line. Again, that's not generally what pilots do when they're flying straight. They're following the curvature of the Earth. So this one is just silly. It really is just silly. And it's, this video is trying to lend it some gravitas because the person making the silly claim used to be a fighter pilot 20 years ago. But this is not based on their experience as a fighter pilot. It's based on their recent conversion to flat Earth conspiracy theories. And now they're just speculating about what they might have experienced, 20 years ago or whatever. It carries absolutely no weight. If you listen to actual pilots today, they'll tell you, no, you follow the curvature of the Earth. That's how it works. If anything, this all just is more evidence for the fact that the Earth is a sphere, as if we needed one more among the many hundreds of definitive lines of evidence that tell anyone who is thinking in the slightest bit objectively and clearly that the Earth is a sphere and it cannot possibly be flat as believed or described by the flat earthers. You realize that they have to progressively dispense with basically all of science in order to maintain this fiction, right? Like a flat Earth would collapse under its own gravity. There's no way something with the surface area of the surface of the Earth, if it were flat, right, that the gravity of the mass itself would just collapse it into a sphere, which it has. So that's why the Earth is a sphere. So they say, okay, well, let's just get rid of gravity. Gravity doesn't exist. Say, okay, but then why do we feel like there's gravity? Say, well, we must be accelerating at 1g. Okay. So the entire universe is accelerating at 1g in order to create this fiction of gravity. But what about when you're on the moon? Because the moon, which is obviously a sphere, and the other planets, even the ones that we could see spinning relative to us, how does that whole acceleration at 1g work with other planets, with other worlds? Then, of course, you have to reject all science. It's a big conspiracy. Well, because we never went to the moon, and every amateur astronomer with a telescope around the world is lying to you. It's like it becomes so self-evidently absurd if you think about it for even a moment that, that's why I genuinely feel that the flat Earth conspiracy theory is about, that's a feature of the conspiracy, not a bug. It's about rejecting all truth claims. If they could lie to you about this, they could lie to you about anything. You can't trust anything anyone says. And it's basically permission to believe whatever you want and dismiss all evidence as a conspiracy. That's what it's about. Because, of course, there is no evidence that the Earth is flat. Anyway, this one piece of evidence is just as silly as all the other ones, regardless of who's saying it. Planes traveling in a straight line are following the curvature of the Earth.